Nnamdi Egwuonwu is there for us. Nnamdi, what exactly is happening?
Katie, as you can see, a very, very volatile scene behind me. I'm going to all this is very, very quickly moving and developing, but I'll tell you what we saw. We recognized 3 people that were counter-protesters that have come to the building pretty consistently. They're very pro-Trump supporters. You can see these barricades that have been put here just in the last 24 hours. Federal agents have been trying to push people towards these barricades in order to ensure that entrance isn't clogged. The rule is simple. If you get too close, they will start to spray tear gas. Well, these 3 counter-protesters went into this no zone, essentially started getting swarmed by the other protesters here. That led into a scene like you're seeing right now. And the way agents responded, which you may again see here shortly, was first by shooting pepper bullets at the floor and then tear gas. Then we heard at least one use of a flashbang. Now, protests have been happening here all day today, and scenes like this yesterday when we were here weren't all that common, but have been a continued occurrence. I just want you to continue looking at what we see here as federal agents now try to at least control this crowd again and push people towards this side again of the facility. It's been a very clear rule, but it's resulted again in escalations just like this. They're again trying to take control of the situation. Seemingly counter-protesters out of sight, and again, just trying to make sure there is a degree of peace and calmness that we see here. But right now,
conducting interviews with those.
Well, Katie, we're here at the scene where this tragedy unfolded more than 2 days ago. As you can see, the vigil where Renee Good was shot and killed by an immigration officer on Wednesday morning has grown larger and larger. We've been coming back to this scene periodically throughout the last 2 days, and there's been every single time a large gathering of community members. Late last night, through the rain, through the sleet, through the snow, thousands of people still here chanting. Members of the community, members of the Somali diaspora, members of the Hispanic community here in Minneapolis, members of Minnesota and St. Paul here to show solidarity for Renee Good. I want to introduce you to Bella. Bella, you told me you're a 25-year-old researcher. You're 20 years old when George Floyd was murdered. Now you're experiencing this moment. How are you feeling, and why is it important for you to be here today?
I think that Minneapolis has experienced, and emphasizing that here, I think is beautiful as well. I think just as we were starting to move past George Floyd, while still remembering him, this happened and it's opened a lot of fresh wounds, but I've seen community coming together in really amazing ways.
And Bella, you saw the video that Vice President J.D. Vance has just posted. You know that the Trump administration is continuing to defend the actions of this immigration officer. What do you make of this argument that this all happened in the name of self-defense?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the administration tends to use shuffle. There are lots of videos that show what happened much clearer, and I recommend that everyone watch the videos and make a decision for themselves.
And if you could have one message to the Trump administration right now, what would you want to tell them?
I would say that you are talking about someone who was a person, a mother, a poet, who was here in our community. You're calling her a domestic terrorist, and that's not right. This was someone you can see the community is showing up for, that we care about deeply.
Bella, outside the state capitol at 5:30 this evening, more protests slated all throughout the evening, all throughout the night, all throughout the weekend. The community of Minneapolis and St. Paul don't plan on stopping from letting the Trump administration know how they feel right now. Katie.
Alex, thank you. All right, Rosa, let's talk about Portland. You were there, another ICE-involved shooting, 2 people shot. What do we know about what happened?
You know, first of all, there are so many mixed emotions about this shooting here in this community, Katie, because there's the fear and the anger and then the grief and all of these mixed emotions according to community members kind of collide with what actually happened because they're still trying to figure that out. Unlike the Minnesota incident, there is no surveillance video that we know of here. And so they are relying on what authorities are saying, the nutshell version of this. So the FBI issued a statement that they posted on X yesterday and then removed it. When we asked for information, they gave us a statement, and the characterization of the shooting is different. And I want to share it with you because I think this is important. The first statement says, quote, the agent-involved shooting is how they characterize it. It's an agent-involved shooting. The second statement said is an assault on federal officers. And then the way that they speak about the actual people who were involved here, the individuals who were in the car, the first statement says that these are two individuals. The second statement says that they are two assailants. This is not sitting well with this community because these were statements that were issued by the FBI. This is the investigative agency, the agency that's investigating this case. We, of course, asked the FBI why there was a change in language, why there was a change in narrative. We haven't heard back. But again, it's not sitting well with individuals here, with people in this community, as they also grieve for what is happening. Take a listen.
The community is grieving, and they're going through stages of grief. There's a lot of disbelief at the heels of what happened in Minnesota with Renee Nicole Good. There's anger. There's a lot of anger. So what we're seeing here is something that the United States has never experienced, and so it creates this community that lives in constant fear because the rule of law no longer applies. The Constitution no longer applies.
And Katie, that's what they say is so dangerous, because once the people don't believe in the justice system, once the people don't believe in law enforcement, then what do we have?
Yeah. All right, Rosa, thank you very much. We're going to go back to Nnamdi now. Again, he's outside of that detention center in Minneapolis. Nnamdi, you have a guest.
Yeah, Katie, I want to introduce you to Sandra Taylor, who has been here for hours and experienced the tear gassing firsthand. Just tell us what happened that led to that escalation a couple minutes ago.
So I've been here a couple of hours, peaceful protest against ICE, and then just a few minutes ago, a group of pro-ICE protesters showed up. They kind of spread across both lanes of the road and protesting. ICE has held us back to just one side of the road. And so when the pro-ICE protesters showed up, spread across both sides of the road, people were just asking why they were allowed to cover all the road when we were being held to one side. And then I'm not sure exactly what else transpired, but then ICE did start spraying some pepper spray, I think, in our area as well.
How did you get tear gas or pepper sprayed, and what was that like?
Yeah, that happened quite a while ago. Again, the protest has been quite peaceful today, and this is my first ICE protest. And I was just in a crowd of people peacefully protesting and just holding up signs, and all of a sudden a pepper spray bullet landed right in front of my mobility scooter, and the fumes just came up into my face right away. It's the first time I've ever been pepper sprayed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't see anything happen around me to necessitate that. It happened very quickly. I just heard the pop, and so I tried to pull my mask up, but I didn't get it up in time to affect me.
And you said that happened a while ago, but you're still here. To tell me why, despite everything we're seeing, you still want to be here.
Because I know someone who was forced to deport themselves rather than be forcefully deported. And also, I feel like this is really affecting the children in our community. Children are now not going to school in Minneapolis. Minneapolis has decided to close school till February 12th, they've announced, which means over a month of no in-person school for thousands of children. That's really traumatic. That's like what happened during the peak of the COVID pandemic. I care for the children in our community very much. This is, they're really experiencing a lot of trauma related to this.
And you're here for them.
I'm here for the children. I'm here for Renee. and for the person I know that was forced to deport themselves and their family rather than be forced to leave.
Sandra, thank you so much for talking to me.